Hello, welcome to the show. Today we have Duncan and Tyler, who are the co-founders of Memberstack. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Super excited to be on this. This is very, very cool.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hopefully, if you'd like to do sort of a quick 30, 60, 90-second intro of who each of you are and what Memberstack is, we can dive right into it.
Cool. Yeah, our career stories are pretty short. I don't know, Tyler, do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. So I went to college for computer science, and about a month after graduating, when I was trying to figure out what I was going to do as a career, Duncan and we were working on some side projects, and they all had the same problem of we needed payments and we needed user accounts. So we started looking into a SaaS product that would help us out personally, and that's really how Memberstack came to be.
Yep. So I do all the design, all the product side of things, and then Tyler writes all the code. And I guess up until recently, we were just a team of 2, but now we're up to a team of 6.
Oh wow, nice. So what's the how quickly has that gone from 2 to 6?
It's been, maybe for some people it wouldn't be too quick, but for us it's felt very quick. But it's been like a total game changer. So I guess in November, I want to say we were 2, and then Molly joined the team. Natick joined the team about the same time, and then Josh just joined the team, and then Lydia will be joining next week.
Awesome. Yes. I mean, we did a similar sort of path where it was just me for a long time, and then all of a sudden, there's like people on the team. You're like, holy shit! There's like people who can do stuff that I don't like. I'm not very good at, or I don't like have to do anymore. Because I remember early on, and I don't know how early in the Memberstack story that I discovered you guys, or you discovered me. I can't even remember how that happened actually. And it was just like every support thing was just you. Every time you'd send a loom back straight away, saying, "Oh, this is how you fix this. This is how you fix this." And I've seen it with a few different products, like we use Circle at the moment for our forum. And that's like a similar situation we've got now where I'm just like pinging Sid, the CEO, and saying, hey, me again, there's a problem. So how have you found like support growing with the product, and how has that changed over the last, it must be like, is it 12 months now you've been going? You must be going somewhere near that, right?
I think that's about right. I think we launched about 13 months ago at this point. Mm-hmm. And it's been really fun. I think it's the first word that pops out, doing support. Some days really difficult, really hard. And that's just more of like a volume kind of thing, where at the beginning when I was looking through, I have a folder on my computer of screenshots of like cool moments. And at the beginning it was like, oh, we had 10 people sign up. We have 10 people in our community. So it was really easy to be able to do videos for every single person. And now we have about 600 or so. So it's still exciting to make those videos. It's just, there's too many to do in a day. So that's been the biggest thing, is trying to take that excitement and like that willingness and the desire to like, we see a problem. It's like, oh, we know how to fix this. It's just, I only have 24 hours in a day. How are we going to like actually help all these people?
Yeah. And I guess, yeah, you've hired, is there one person on support, or is there more? How you plan on servicing like a growing community of these people as well?
So that's actually our biggest, everyone on the team does support. And now we have Josh doing customer success and Molly doing customer success as well. So I'm transitioning out of doing that full time essentially for the last few months, and they're picking up more of that.
Yeah. I mean, for me as a founder, which is like automatically in a support role from whatever you build, and from the first day, it seems like that's it's one of those hard things to let go. I think it's like, you need to, because of the time it takes, but equally it's like you need to scale your own time and do things that you need to do, other than just answering people or pinging people up before. And I mean, I'm always guilty of going back to that. And yeah, I'm interested in hearing how is that going for you so far? Like, does it feel weird? Are you trying to be like strict on processes and people and say, right, you do this bit, I won't touch it, I won't look at it? Or is it more transitional, I guess?
I think one thing that got us early on with the customer support side of MemberStack was it really got to the point where 90% of our time was going into customer support, and we weren't producing any new features. We were having a difficult time fixing bugs. And I think that helped us make the transition where it's like, okay, we really need to bring on people and we need to trust them with the customer support just so Duncan and I can get more back onto the product side of things.
Yeah. I think it's probably one of those things that it's a bigger issue in your head than it is actually like in practice. Like it's usually like, oh no, like the support will never be the same again. Something will change, but it's never like it doesn't fall off a cliff, right? Straight away. So it's one of those things. So as we didn't really mean to go into the customer support side of things straight away, that was just one of the big pieces that I found like super helpful with MemberStack, especially in the early days of the no code. Like, oh my god, I can do a membership now, and I build on Webflow. And before MemberStack, I think I was using like Typeform and then like just sending people a password to a password protected page. So it really has been a game changer for us to be able to have memberships and create that like logged in function and logged out function. Curious to see what you've seen sort of built over these last 13 months with MemberStack. What has been some of the sort of the bigger things built with MemberStack and the most surprising things?
Yeah, so maybe Tyler, we can just like bounce back and forth on these. But when we first got started, we actually designed just like websites or replicated a couple big websites. So like Spotify and Netflix, and just sites that essentially had user accounts, and there was some content or service that was gated behind those user accounts. We just said, all right, we want to replicate this. We want to allow people to have some content or service and then be able to charge people for that. And then without actually having to interact with every single person, have them log in, make a payment, get some value out of that. So that was the use case we built with. That was the use case we had in mind when we built MemberStack. Since then, people have run with it in all kinds of ways, and you know that more than anybody. But Tyler, what are some bigger ones?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's like, so about a month ago, we really wanted to do a breakdown of all of our different customers and figure out if we had like a majority that used MemberStack a certain way. And we found that there's really not a majority. It's like there's so many subcategories of how MemberStack's being used. It's kind of difficult to pinpoint like its exact use case. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we've seen companies from like Duncan just described, like you're just trying to gate content. And then we have companies that are trying to get their members to pay more like on an online setting, like gyms. So we have a few gyms using MemberStack. They're just like really doing their gym membership online through MemberStack. And then we have some more like enterprise level companies using MemberStack for its like employee directory. So kind of a mix of everything.
Yeah, I suppose that makes it hard. I think it's weird, and I've seen this as a common thread in the no-code space of that when people are building these tools to solve a problem for, when it's almost like when no-coders get like people in the no-code space get their hands on it, they then say, well, cool, you've built it for this reason, but I can see that I can use this thing and to completely change what it's used for in my use case, but it still works. Does that make it harder to decide what you're going to build next and what like the priorities are for the future of MemberStack?
It was for a little while. It was getting really complicated and hard to keep track of things. It all felt very emotional for us to get all this feedback and try to decide, all right, what are we going to build? But when Natick joined the team, one of the first things he did was set up an Airtable where every piece of feedback we get goes into this Airtable, and it has a weighted score, an average, and then is associated with their information so that we're able to every week go into it, organize our roadmap based on a little bit of our gut feeling and where we want the company to go, but also what is the actual feedback we are getting and how important it is to these people, and then how many of them do we think there are. So we've made it more scientific. But yeah, it definitely, if we didn't have that, it would be a nightmare to try to keep organized.
Yeah.
And actually one other thing on that, it's really cool getting a diverse set of like requests and use cases forces us to kind of go lower level and say, what is a feature we can implement that's going to help as many of these people as possible, as opposed to just doing exactly what they're asking or building that specific feature.
Yeah, because it's often they're trying to solve a problem and they're thinking of it, or they come to you with the exact specific, this is the specific problem I'm trying to solve, but really that problem could be a way broader piece that others would fit into the same slot too. But it's trying to figure that language out between what they've said, what they mean, and what they're trying to do, because often people are very different with all of those pieces. What are some of the big next things for Memberstack then? Where is the product going, I suppose?
Yeah, so I'd say, and actually, Tyler, do you want to touch on this a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, I could say a couple of the features that we're kind of excited about that are coming down the pipeline. We can't give any time estimates yet, but we can definitely share like some things that we're excited about. So the first thing that comes to my mind is just like social login. So people being able to sign up through user sites through Gmail, Facebook, Twitter. It's kind of like all the normal social logins. And then another big one for us will be PayPal. Like we want to be able to keep supporting Stripe, but also offer PayPal as a payment gateway.
Mm-hmm.
Are they big things that you've seen then? I suppose they must be for those to be sort of coming through. Is it just that people don't like using email and password? Because I've seen that a lot recently where people do like this email magic link thing, and I don't know that I understand that as a better way to log in. I feel like I hate that way more than having to remember a password. I don't know what you've seen.
Yeah, I think the goal is, especially for a membership that's paid, like you want to get that member to paying as quickly as possible. And if it's a matter of just clicking on like their Gmail button to do that, then I think that might help conversion rates. And I feel like that's a lot of the feedback back that we get from people that really want social login, I think are looking at it from like, it's just going to shorten the time it takes for someone to sign up on my site, would be a benefit.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And obviously there's like one of the obvious pieces in the membership like add-on world is connecting this to another piece of software, whether it's a forum or the Slack community or whatever it is. What are you seeing there? And is there like some commonalities, or is it a case of just like one thing at a time?
Yeah, that's a good question. So like right now we have our Zapier app, which is fairly basic. So like we will be expanding the Zapier app, but another common request is Integromat, just to have an official app with Integromat. So that is something that we will also be working on. Parabola is one thing that we know we want to integrate with. And then up until recently, we've actually been looking at doing a direct integration with Airtable. We see a lot of our users using Airtable in like these really awesome ways, and they're doing it through Zapier. So anything we can get, I think if we can get Memberstack just closer to a direct Airtable integration, it could help a lot of our users out.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, you carry on.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, and kind of like as a company, how we're trying to like restructure and think about these things. It's like the broad buckets we get are just integrations. Broadly speaking, is like most of the requests we get. And that falls into payments, front end, like website builders, and then like business tools you use to manage your business. So we're trying to set up the groundwork to be able to easily integrate with as many of those things as possible.
Awesome. Yeah, the Airtable one's obviously interesting for me because I don't know if you've seen my Airtable, but I probably wouldn't show it to many people. But yeah, that's exactly what we do. Is everything that goes through our like Webflow sites goes through Zapier, goes through into Airtable, back through Zapier, back to Webflow. There's multiple steps for each of these pieces. All is passing Memberstack data through, back and forth, and it's like it works 95% of the time. But then when there's that one thing that breaks, it's like trying to figure out where that breaks, why it's breaking, and how to like fix it and things like that. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the new integrations and things come along and help some of those pieces. Do you see people building like, because we've had other member products on and spoken to other founders and things who have payments as part of their like offering, And they always see the community piece as like almost the next step, or like, okay, we've got a forum, we've got a Slack community. Do you see any of that being able to log in with Memberstack as one of those pieces, or would that be sort of after some of these integrations first?
Gotcha. So that's kind of like Circle, for example, being able to integrate those two so that you log in on one and like the information, you have an account with both now, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Because I think the way, like, I'm obviously selfishly asking this piece because of MakerPad having, like, there's a site where you can do stuff, but there's like a community of people who all want to chat, and we've had Slack, which was okay because actually people are like always logged into Slack anyway. But then we tried to have a discourse forum, and then it's like, okay, well, here's another login, and everyone's like, wait, this doesn't make sense. And it's like a weird situation now. We've just started using Circle, trying to move people away from Slack, and there must be so many people who have a business or a product or a community that they're trying to have this like extra chat piece. I wondered, how you think about that anyway, because I mean, there's one case of having just like linking these two up and saying, well, when you become a Memberstack customer through MakerPad, you automatically get an invite, which is obviously what we do now, which is all fine. And then once you're logged in, which is okay. But yeah, I just wonder how you see those pieces like connecting a bit more closely.
Yeah, I think there is a clear path for us to do that, and it's called single sign-on. It's something that we don't have yet in MemberStack, but it's something that we're working towards. And with single sign-on, it's literally what it sounds. It's like you'll have your MemberStack login, and you'll be able to use that to log into services like Tribe and Slack and kind of any other platform that supports single sign-on.
Yeah, the dream is like a single login where like you as a business owner, right? You have the discourse forum, Circle, MakerPad. Ideally, they log in once, they're automatically in all those places, just seamlessly. Like that's the dream.
Yeah, and I mean, even it's just so difficult building any product, right? Because as soon as that came along, and I was like, okay, cool, we've done that piece now. Now I want to make sure that all of the profile stuff that's happening in MemberStack, in my Airtable, in Webflow, in the forum is all like in one place too. So it's always like another thing, right? It's just one more thing. So I understand the like the whole complexity around it all. But I was just wondering, because you see a lot of people building things and then having a community like plonked on as another piece, and a lot of people just don't understand that there's often like separate logins for things. I think even Webflow, for example, have their forum is on Discourse, I think, and I'm pretty sure that's another login. Like it's not your Webflow login, but I always wonder why big companies, like I don't see messages sent to Webflow every 2 seconds to say, like, why am I just not logged in? But I mean, I definitely get those messages, so that's why I was asking. Yeah, I'm curious to see how you think about building MemberStack. I mean, I've used it with Webflow. I know you support a bunch of other platforms. Did you start with Webflow, and is that like the number one platform for you to support, and then doing the others as well, or?
So we definitely started with Webflow. It was kind of where we got our starts. Essentially, the quick story, I was going to college for graphic and web design, and I was there for like 3 months. And at the end of the semester, it was a senior portfolio day, and everyone was showing off their websites. And that previous weekend, I had discovered Webflow and built a website. And my website that I had built in a weekend was better than all the senior projects. Like not because me, just because Webflow just made it that much easier. So I just left school and started, I just called myself a Webflow designer and started building websites. So that's kind of how we got in and where we saw the need initially. And kind of the question when we got started was like, this is clearly a need here. Is it really that big of a need elsewhere? And as soon as we launched MemberStack, we started getting requests from outside of Webflow. So we see ourselves like starting there, but expanding outward and working in ideally everywhere.
Yeah. How how is the no code movement, as we'll sort of say, how has this sort of space grown? And I feel like some tools don't even try and be a no code tool. And I've been saying on other episodes about, like, you don't have to be a no code tool to be part of a no code solution. And often people in the no code space sort of see a tool, see a way that they can implement that thing and say, oh yeah, that helps for my use case, no matter if it's the thing that you meant it for. And sort of just carry it and say, yeah, this is our tool. Like, you're on with me now, and this is like, I'm pushing this as a no code part of my no code stack or whatever else. How have you seen the no code movement sort of affect how Memberstack has grown and how much sort of popularity it's had? Because to me, I hear about it all the time, especially in our circles. And we were together in the no code conf back in November when you could be in person with people. And yeah, there's just like, a ton of people just talking about Memberstack there.
Yeah, I think if I could summarize kind of the whole no code movement, my experience of it in like a particular conversation, kind of how that conversation goes, it's like when we explain Memberstack, we're like, oh yeah, if you have a website, you can add like user accounts and payments to it. And they're like, oh, that's cool. I have a website. And we're like, oh, and you can do it without code. And then their face lights up and they're like, whoa, wait. Say that again. What was the first thing you said? Because now I care, right? Now this means something to me. So it's like, and it started debates, started a lot of conversations, but I think that's the thing that's like really valuable and that's helped us a lot. People look at it and say, ooh, this applies to me now.
Yeah.
And I guess, and Tyler, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit to what's interesting about it is we get a lot of interest from developers too. Like no code has an appeal in that space as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's actually one thing that surprised us early on. Like, so initially we were like, oh, developers aren't going to use something like Memberstack. Like, they'll just code it themselves. And we've really found the opposite. When developers find Memberstack, they and we don't really have developer focused features right now, and they're still okay with that. They'll just hack together what we have, kind of for like the no code movement, for the no code world to kind of work for their use case, which has been super interesting.
Yeah, I think I was chatting to someone, I think on the podcast, and saying that it's the same for everyone. No one wants to rebuild the same things over and over again. So then when a developer has to spin up like the payment systems or whatever for a new project for someone, it's like, I don't have to do all that. Is there something just easier? And then it probably gives them a platform to then go above and beyond with. Like, we've hired a developer to use specifically Memberstack like attributes to then do things that are sort of, I mean, it was no code for me because I got someone else to do it, but it was essentially just like adding a script and then something works on the site that pushes stuff back and forth. So we've definitely seen this like crossing of, oh yeah, well, that bit's already handled. I don't have to worry about the payment system. Memberstack already gives me this stuff, so I can just use this stuff and then pass like other things through, and it makes my job easier. So we've seen a bunch of that too. Yeah, how do you think, like, where do you think this no code movement's going to go? Do you think it's a phase? Do you think it's like it's just getting started? Yeah, I'd love to know what you think of the whole space in general.
Yeah, I guess, Tyler, do you want to go first, or do you want me to? I've been thinking about this lately.
Yeah, it's a good question. For me personally, I feel like the no code movement is not a phase. Like, I feel like we're just kind of right on the beginning of the movement, really. And I think the reason why is because anytime you empower the business owner or the designer to do things themselves, where they don't have to go and hire a third party like a developer, and you keep giving them resources to do that, I think they're going to keep doing that. I don't think there's ever going to be a time where people will stop using a site like Webflow and start like doing HTML by hand again. Like, I don't imagine that happening. So I feel like the no code movement is more than just a phase.
Yeah, I think it's like,
I agree.
It's like the first step of enablement, right? It's not like, okay, well, you could have these types of tools, but because we don't like the no code movement, we're going to sort of go back to like the old way of doing it. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, are you actively embracing no code as like part of the culture and the DNA of Memberstack, as part of like we're a no code tool? Will we help you specifically in that realm? Because I know and then like a bunch of companies either didn't and now sort of do, or like are still not really wanting to tie themselves to this whole no code movement.
Yeah, we don't have the messaging like on our website, so that might be part of the answer there. But I think kind of the DNA of it is within MemberStack, right? Like our goal, and you can see this in our forum, for example, is like our goal is just to take the goal they have and then remove as many barriers as possible. And sometimes we become the barrier. And then the best way to fix that is with like $10 on Fiverr, where someone writes a tiny bit of JavaScript for you. So if that's the solution, we're not purists, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's like if code is required, get some code, but let's find like solutions that work within your constraints, whatever that is. And for a lot of people, and I think like broadly speaking, that's the trend right now. Like a lot of people have this goal and can see what a solution would look like with software. Like I have this problem. I can imagine what the software would look like. I even have the website builders to build it, but I'm missing these other parts, these like essential business components, but I don't have a budget to hire a dev team, custom dev shop for 30 grand to build me a site, right? Like so when no code is the solution, we are all for it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people avoid saying no code, and it's difficult to avoid it completely. Well, for me, for MakerPad specifically, because we don't necessarily want to be. We are the no code platform for no code people, for no code blah, blah, blah. Like it's not like that. It just happens to be that you don't have to write code to do these things that we're showing you how to do. Like that's like almost the second order effect of what it is we're trying to do. So we'll just sort of round off shortly, and just wanted to hear a bit about the decision that you decided to raise some VC money, I suppose, recently. So tell us a bit about that. What happened? Because I know we were speaking in November about like your decision whether to do it, like what was the path, and you've really like thinking through these things, I suppose. So I'd love to hear how you decided, and then what was the story there.
Sure. Yeah. It was quite the decision-making process. I'm saying Tyler and I, we can bounce back and forth on this story, but essentially we, like I said, started MemberStack as just a way to solve a problem we had. It was like, we want to build more software and it's just too slow to do it. So let's build this thing, see if it works. Then started getting more traction. Did a product hunt launch, which thanks for your help on that, because that got us a good bit of attention from some venture capitalists. And we actually, a couple of days after that launch, we were just doing back-to-back demo calls. And we got on a call and we're like, okay, cool. How do you want to use MemberStack? Blah, blah, blah. And the person across the table was like, I'm so-and-so from this VC fund. I want to invest in you guys. I don't want to use the product. I want a lot of people to use the product.
Yeah.
And it was like, from that conversation, it was this, like them pulling us along saying, like, check it out. You have this huge opportunity to empower so many people. And these are the barriers, like to get to that goal. We can help you take down those barriers, which money is part of that, but like experience and just the fact that they've been there and done it before has been the biggest benefit so far, but also money for hiring the team, building out the team, right? So yeah, it was a gradual process of letting them convince us that, yeah, this is what we need to really help as many people as possible.
Awesome. So where's MemberStack going to go then? Because right now it's sort of still in that gated content phase, I suppose. So what's the big ambition for why you took on this money and got this team in place and things? So what's the next sort of few years look like, I suppose?
Yeah, I don't know, Tyler, do you want to speak to that a little bit? I think either of us can answer any of these questions. So
I mean, it's a good question. I mean, honestly, like the first thing that comes to my mind is just mainly on the product side. It's like the biggest benefit of us having or being backed by a VC fund now, or multiple VC funds, is just we have money to build a team and focus on the product. And like one thing that we've like looked at so far with our current user base and customers is that like MemberStack works great if it fits a certain business model. Like we've got several business models, and if it doesn't, and if your company doesn't fit one of those models, then like Memberstack's just unfortunately not going to work for you. So we really want to create a more flexible system where people can really create essentially any sort of like business model they could think of. That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Awesome. Yeah. And I guess kind of like how we see Memberstack going forward is we want it to be the most highly integrated, like the most beautiful out of the box, the most flexible in terms of like design, business integrations. Like the idea is flexibility and quality as quickly as possible. Like we're confident someone's going to do this, and whoever does it is going to have a massive business on their hands and help a lot of people. Like we just want to be the first ones to do it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm like glad I'm along for the ride. And yeah, I mean, Memberstack is a key piece of how MakerPad is where it is today, and we couldn't have done it without Memberstack, which is like credit to you. You both have built such an awesome product, and like yeah, we've got that flexibility to push it to things that may be annoying for you to try and support, but it's like things that we've been pushing the front lines of. But yeah, I really appreciate you both coming on. Why don't you just sort of tell everyone where they can find you and where they can find Memberstack, and we can wrap it up there.
Cool, absolutely. And the feeling is mutual. I'd say it's felt like a journey that we've all gone on together. It has been, it's never annoying. I will say that. And it's so wonderful working for people who run their own companies and who are figuring this stuff out at the same time. Real quick story. We had some problems, like technical difficulties the other day with Memberstack. And instead of getting angry emails from people, we just had everyone like pouring out love and support, saying it's like, oh, this is a good sign. You must be growing really quickly. Love that. Like you guys will be back up in no time. So this is just such a cool community. But to answer your question, memberstack.io is, I'd say, the best place to go to learn more about Memberstack. We have an unlimited free trial. So anyone can like set up a site, test it out, just like some dream project or client project or whatever, get it going. And only when you're ready to actually turn it on and start having people sign up, then you can sign up for a paid account.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks so much both for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a blast.
Cheers.